This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post, broadcasting to you from the Fort Hall School of Government in Nairobi, Kenya. In this show, we summarize the headlines that you might have missed this morning. We also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 25th of May 2022, and I am Miss K.
I'm JM.
And I'm GK. In case you missed the headlines, here they are. In the Daily Nation, Criticus awarded me 2,500 acres of his farm. In the Standard, blow as MPs reject Uhuru's new taxes. In the Star, RUTO has slight lead in tight race with Raila, according to a poll. And in the People Daily, MPs reject high taxes over polls. JM, why don't you kick us off?
Yes, so today I would like to expose the William RUTO scheme. RUTO and Rigathi, compared to Raila and Martha Karua, are doing what you call Texas sharpshooter politics. Let me explain. The analogy is derived from the proverbial Texan cowboy, who is actually an amateur shooter, but wants to be known as the best sharpshooter in the Wild West. To build his street cred, therefore, the amateur shooter has to hoodwink his peers. He gets out both pistols and begins blasting away at his target. But because he's an amateur, he misses the center of the target. In spite missing the center, however, he tends to consistently hit a peripheral area of the target. And so after a few shots, some of those bullet holes begin to naturally cluster together. And once they've clustered together, he quickly gets a paintbrush and paints a target around the cluster, which he's shot. Now, what he's effectively done is to shift goalposts by moving the center of the target to his own center. The effect, of course, it makes him look like a pretty good shot. To his peers and to the world, it looks like he hit the center of the target and hit it quite a few times. Now, similar to this analogy, what RUTO and Rigathi are doing is drawing a target round the bullet holes. RUTO and Rigathi are not good shooters, and by that I mean they have zero credibility. Unlike Raila and Martha, they are not leaders but manipulators of men. They claim to be men of discipline, but they are not. They are men and they are masters of chaos and disorder. They claim to be as pure as snow. They are not. They are as dark as a pocket. They claim to be men of action, but what they really are is a cabal of sophists, men who reason with clever but false arguments. The two most prominent, clever but utterly false arguments: first, that bottom-up economics will transform the lot of the bottom of the pyramid. No, bottom-up economics is not a transformational model. It is purely transactional. Bottoms up is not about empowering our business communities. It is about keeping them dependent on handouts from the RUTO government. Number two, that Uhuru's government has been a total failure. Nothing could be further from the truth. Let me remind you guys, Uhuru's government has been a government of firsts all round. And take just two examples, roads and land. When Uhuru took over, and since independence, as he told us last year in the State of the Nation address, Kenya only had 11,200 kilometers of road. To date, he has added another 10,500 kilometers of tarmacked roads across the country. In other words, he worked 15 times harder than previous administration. In the last 8 years, Uhuru's administration has issued 5.2 million title deeds. This is almost the 5.3, about 5.3 million title deeds. And that combines the title deeds of Jomo, of Moi, and of Kibaki, and of the colonizers. He basically did as much as they did. What am I saying? Let's not fall for the Texas sharpshooter fallacy. Do not mistake subjectivity for objectivity. Let's investigate the facts. The facts are out there. The real sharpshooters in this election are Raila and Martha. These other cowboys are nothing but charlatans.
Wow, and they're dark as pockets.
Yes,
I
as
really
dark
like
as pockets.
I like that. So today I would like to tell you a story of an interaction between a philosopher and a conqueror. Alexander the Great was a king and one of the most successful military commanders in history. During his rule, he established an empire stretching from Greece to India. Now, one day, Alexander visited Corinth, and upon hearing of his presence, the great philosophers and other statesmen of the land hurried to congratulate their monarch and praise his accomplishment. Now, all except the philosopher Diogenes, who stayed put and ignored Alexander the Great. And because the philosopher ignored him, Alexander went to him in person to see him and found him laying in the sun. Diogenes raised himself up a little when he saw so many people coming towards him, and he fixed his eyes upon Alexander the Great. And when Alexander gave his greetings and asked if he wanted anything, Diogenes simply responded, "Yes, stand a little out of my sun," i.e. get out the way. It is said that Alexander was so struck by this and admired so much the haughtiness of the man who had nothing but scorn for him that he said to his followers as they laughed at him and went away, "But truly, if I were not Alexander, I wish I were Diogenes." What is my point? We are witnessing a very similar interaction between Raila and Kalonzo. Many, including Baba, assumed Kalonzo would just play ball and consolidate Baba's 44% voting bloc. But Kalonzo's recent behavior, his resistance to Azimio, suggests that Baba misjudged Kalonzo. In refusing to join the fray, Diogenes, just like Kalonzo, has caused Baba's spotlight to come to him. And unlike Alexander, who was so taken aback by Diogenes, his bravado, that he forgot why he had sought Diogenes, Baba must not let Kalonzo's arrogance affect the outcome of their negotiations. The Kalonzo negotiations must be delicate, as JM intimated yesterday, or the Kambas will be spoilers in this election. It is a delicate calculation because of what Kalonzo's Wiper Party symbolizes for Azimio and their majority stake in both houses. In the 12th Parliament, Wiper made up 18% of Quad's members in the National Assembly and 10% of its members in the Senate. Without these numbers, it is unlikely that Baba would have held a strong minority in Parliament. And now that he is running for president, Baba cannot risk being president but being a minority in both Parliament and Senate. Kalonzo understands his Wiper Party can deliver both majority for both houses for the coalition, thus securing the key Speaker of the National Assembly and Speaker slots. And Muturi showed us what a Speaker of the National Assembly can do. They can prevent evidence of corruption on a presidential candidate from appearing before the representatives of the people of Kenya. In our case, Kalonzo is like this philosopher, and Raila is like the conqueror Alexander the Great. And the genius of the interaction is that Diogenes only requests that Alexander return the sunshine to him, it being something that Alexander cannot give to him in the first place. So just like Kalonzo holds the key to the Kamba vote and Baba's 44%, something I believe only Kalonzo can truly deliver.
Today, we want to bring to the attention of the public an unknown and alarming fact about the 2022 election. And this is the fact. Did you know that the 2022 presidential election will be determined by only 7 voters? The definitive voter register for the election is out, and there are only 7 people on that register. I'll name them. Justice Martha Koome, Justice Philomena Mwilu, Justice Mohammed Ibrahim, Justice Njoki Dungu, Justice Dr. Smukin Wenjala, Justice Isaac Lenaola, and Justice William Ouko. These 7 voters will decide who will be the 5th President of the Republic of Kenya. This is a fact that is described in and protected by our Constitution. According to Articles 136, 138, and 140 of the Constitution, the path to the presidency begins on August 9th when we vote and ends on September 3rd when the Supreme Court gives its ruling on the presidential election petition. Now, before you argue that the IEBC register has over 22 million registered voters and that 70% of them will vote, we want to let you know that whatever IEBC will announce to the public between August 13th and August 16th will only be a provisional result. A petition will be filed at the Supreme Court challenging the election results, and the 7 voters at the Supreme Court will announce the final result of the election on September 3rd, and their decision is absolute and it cannot be challenged. The Supreme Court understands that the election ends with them, and that is why the Chief Justice amended the Supreme Court presidential election petition rules to add a gag or no comment rule on the presidential election petitions once they have been filed at the court. According to the new rule, I'll quote, "Upon commencement of the hearing of the petition by the court, litigants, their advocates, and their agents shall refrain from expressing their opinion on the merits, demerits, or predict the outcome of the petition until judgment is delivered. And if anyone breaches this provision, well, they'll be in contempt of court and could get a jail sentence of up to 6 months in prison. This gag order is part of what is called the sub judice rule. Sub judice rule is a common law principle that prohibits public discussion on matters pending before the court. Sub judice just means under judicial consideration. So when an issue is before the court, the public is forbidden from speaking about it. Now the thing is, the sub judice rule was particularly relevant in cases where the decision was being made by a jury, where there's a genuine fear that the non-legal jury members would be swayed by public opinion. But the Kenyan courts are managed by competent judicial officers, I'd like to think, who know better than to fall prey to undue influence from comments in the media. But I must ask, apart from the litigants, their advocates and their agents, who else is the target for this gag order by the 7 voters of the Supreme Court? Could it also include observers, the international community, the media? I mean, in 2013, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Navi Pillay, accused the Supreme Court of the Maldives with interfering excessively in presidential elections after it nullified its election. Now, if that happens in August, if someone accuses them of interfering, will our Supreme Court issue a ruling of contempt of court? Maybe we need to keep a closer eye on our 7 most important voters.
Indeed, we do. I like that, the 7 voters this election. So we have the headlines. I want to throw them all away.
I agree.
Yeah, they weren't particularly inspiring. But I want us to move to our cartoons that we call political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. We ask, are they humorous or dry, satirical or pessimistic, are they effective or just plain lazy? Shall we start with the Daily Nation?
Yes. Daily Nation, we have a Spot the Difference childlike cartoon where you have on one frame 2017 election. In a little picture frame inside, we have the Minister for Interior, a caricature of C.S. Matiang'i, and the Minister for ICT, a caricature of C.S. Mosheru, and there you have a very frightened caricature of Raila Odinga biting his nails, wondering what's going to happen. On the other frame, you have a similar cartoon where you have a caricature of C.S. Matiang'i, a caricature of C.S. Mosheru, and this time the difference is you have a very frightened and tearful caricature of William Ruto.
I like how his head is always drawn facing
backwards. The guy can't even see things straight. I love that. I think this is because Kenya Kwanza has accused the 2 cabinet secretaries of planning to interfere with the August polls following the support of Raila Odinga.
Interesting. Let's park that. Should we do the Standard?
Yeah. So in the Standard, we have a cartoon depicting Mohozi on the back of his mother, Janet Museveni. And Mohozi is tied to his mother's back like a sleeping baby, with a lasso adorned with machine guns, as you can see there. And, that famous photo of Museveni. And he's holding a half-empty bottle of booze and drooling on his mother's arm. And he appears to have made a mess of his diaper, or his pants, as his mother looks at him with concern.
I like that his boots are labeled Junior.
Well, there are some humorous elements of it, but it's completely pessimistic.
Gato wants to make enemies in Uganda.
Not a big fan of that one. I think we toss it.
Toss it. There we go. In the Star, we have a caricature of Wiper leader Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, who has many mouths drawn on him, and they're all being preaching and instructing different things. So the cartoon is referencing the back and forth nature surrounding what's been happening with Kalonzo. Say this, now say this, and that, now say this. Consistently inconsistent. But they says there it's structured dialogue. That's by Ozone. Who do we give the winning cartoon, guys?
Nobody.
Not particularly inspiring as well. There you have it. No winning headline, no winning cartoon. But find us on YouTube and also find us on TV on GoTV and Prime Free to Air. Find me on Twitter.
Yeah, find me on TikTok, Maina wa Kankema.
And find me on Twitter at jkambuni.